Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Competency-Based Review Item Writing Process, Part 2. We have 17 participants. I will wait 5 minutes before we proceed. This is a part 2 of competency-based item writing process. Part 1 was done by Rabu ma'am, wonderfully explained the process and all the points relevant for writing a competent item. Today we shall review it, and I shall give all of you an opportunity to present your items that you all have created. So you can write it down on a piece of paper, or you can have a PPT or an image, and I shall give you the opportunity to share it with everyone. I'm expecting a lot of participation from all of you all. We are 24 of us now. So I'll begin because we'll do a short review before we jump in. So good afternoon, everyone. And I would like to thank our respected VP, Dr. Mrs. Veena Srivastava, definitely our loving principal, Mrs. Madhu Wadke ma'am, and our colleague, Ms. Khyati Dwarka Das, the STNC, who has bestowed this opportunity on me to present the review of item writing. So we'll start with the prayer. Do we have Poonam Pandit ma'am with us? I think she's joining a little late, so I'll begin with the prayer here. Please do let me know if it's inaudible.
Yes.
So that was a beautiful prayer, one that we used to listen to constantly at school, and I'm really attached to this particular one. So I started with this prayer. Uh, Speaking about competency, we've been hearing this word a lot, and we have been told that do everything. Competency is a very well acclaimed word now. And why has this word suddenly become a part of our day-to-day curriculum and everything? That is because we've realized that the world our students will be living in is going to be much different than the world that we are living in today. And for that, besides we need to help them cater to that world, and hence we must help them develop the skills required for this. The skills that are called 21st century skills. And we do incorporate this in our daily teaching learning process, but now our focus needs to be put on it so that we are constantly imbibing competencies in our kids. So I came across a very inspiring short video of our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi. So I would like to share that, and then we'll give everyone an opportunity to share their learnings on competency-based item writing.
दुनिया हमारी आज की दुनिया से काफी अलग होने वाली है। हम इसकी जरूरतों को अभी से देख सकते हैं, सेंस कर सकते हैं। ऐसे में हमें अपने स्टूडेंट्स को 21st सेंचुरी की स्किल्स के साथ आगे बढ़ाना है। ये 21st सेंचुरी की स्किल्स क्या होगी? ये होगी क्रिटिकल थिंकिंग, क्रिएटिविटी, कोलैबोरेशन, क्यूरियोसिटी और कम्युनिकेशन। हमारे स्टूडेंट्स सस्टेनेबल फ्यूचर, सस्टेनेबल साइंस को समझे, उस दिशा में सोचे, ये सब आज समय की मांग है, बहुत जरूरी है। और इसलिए छात्र शुरुआत से ही कोडिंग सीखे, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस को समझे, इंटरनेट ऑफ थिंग्स, क्लाउड कंप्यूटिंग, डाटा साइंस और रोबोटिक्स, इससे जुड़े सारी बातों को भी उसके परिचय में उसको लाना होगा। हमें इसको देखना होगा। साथियों, हमारी पहले की जो शिक्षा नीति रही है, उसने हमारे स्टूडेंट्स को बहुत ही बांध भी दिया था। जैसे उदाहरण के तौर पर लें तो विद्यार्थी साइंस लेता है, वो आर्ट्स या कॉमर्स नहीं पढ़ सकता था। आर्ट्स कॉमर्स वालों के लिए मान लिया गया कि ये हिस्ट्री, ज्योग्राफी, अकाउंट्स इसलिए पढ़ रहे हैं क्योंकि ये साइंस नहीं पढ़ सकते। लेकिन क्या रियल वर्ल्ड में, हमारे आपके जीवन में ऐसा होता है? एक दूसरे के साथ जुड़े हुए हैं। हर लर्निंग इंटर रिलेटेड है। स्टूडेंट्स कोई एक विषय ले लेते हैं, बाद में उन्हें लगता है कि वो दूसरे किसी क्षेत्र में ज्यादा बेहतर कर सकते हैं, लेकिन वर्तमान व्यवस्था बदलाव का, नई संभावनाओं से जुड़ने का अवसर ही नहीं देता। बहुत से बच्चों के ड्रॉप आउट होने का सबसे बड़ा कारण भी यही होता है। और इसलिए राष्ट्रीय शिक्षा नीति छात्रों को कोई भी विषय चुनने की आजादी दी गई है। मैं समझता हूं कि ये सबसे बड़े सुधार के तौर पर हम इसे देख सकते हैं। अब हमारे यहां युवा को साइंस, ह्यूमैनिटी या कॉमर्स में से किसी एक ब्रैकेट में फिट होने की जरूरत नहीं है। देश के हर स्टूडेंट्स को उसकी प्रतिभाओं को अब पूरा मौका मिलेगा।
Yes. So that was our Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, stressing on the importance of competency-based education. And coming to assessments, what are assessments? Just a minute. So assessments are basically tools that help us to gauge the learning of our students. They provide a very valuable feedback about the effectiveness of the instructional methods, about what the students have actually understood. And they provide very valuable insights into the teaching learning process. So now NEP has outlined the importance of our assessments being changed to competency-based assessments, where we can assess the competencies our students have developed. This was very well highlighted in the previous part of this workshop by Rabu ma'am. And now I will give you all an opportunity to present your items that you all have created for competency-based item writing process. Anybody who would like to volunteer to go first? Anyone who's ready with their item writing? Can I have someone? Okay. I don't think anyone's here. So before we'll do one thing, we will start reviewing the item writing process so that you all get the time to frame your questions and provide it. Yeah. The item writing process. What is the process? The first part of this says, develop an idea for the task. You must think about what you want to test your students on, what task you want to give your students, what competency are you going to be testing. Okay. And with this, you will also think and decide what is the level of evidence that should be elicited during this process. So the kind of evidence can be, in terms of, are we expecting them to provide us what kind of evidence do we want from them that will prove to us that their competencies have been achieved. Then you're going to write the purpose of that item. While you're writing it, you must also choose and perfect an appropriate time of marking scheme. Finally, you will draft the item, the marking scheme as well as the question. Marking scheme and question is called an item. I repeat, both of them together form an item. You have to ensure that your marking scheme will reward points for what is important. What was the purpose of that particular item? You will also reward points for what the question asks for, ensuring that the command words are eliciting the evidence that you want from your student. You will keep iterating these three until you are sure that your targeted pupils will know what they are expected to do. That means your instructions are very clear and they clearly express what are you expecting from your students. You will also ensure that their minds will be trying to do what we want them to do and to see if they can do. You will ensure that the evidence that they will end up giving you will be exactly what you aspired out of them. The marking scheme will reward them for how well they did it. Higher score means you are better at the subject, and the item does address the point in step 3, that is the purpose of that particular item. You have to focus on the purpose of the assessment. You have to think of an idea, decide what's the level it should elicit, what's the purpose of that item. Make a note of what you want to achieve from this particular item. Think about how the task addresses the content and the assessment objectives. Use this to keep you focused on what is important as you are slowly developing the question. Don't forget your purpose while framing the question. And remember, you will frame the question in accordance and alignment of the evidence you are expecting from your pupils. Idea for the task. When I say idea of the task, for example, I say watching the Olympic cycling gave me the idea to test students and understand the velocity in context of a cycle race. I realized this may be too complex, so thought about a cycle journey instead. Level of evidence, looking at the section, draw and interpret the distance, time, and velocity time graphs. Now you see over here, this will lend itself to an analysis question if you give the student a graph to interpret. So it will become a higher order thinking skill, and it may be calculation based question. The purpose of this item is what? What is the main purpose? To assess whether the students can interpret and understand the velocity time graph. So you see very well developed idea. While seeing the Olympic cycle, you realize that this would be a fantastic opportunity for the students and to identify the competency the student has developed. And then you give them the opportunity to draw and interpret the time velocity graphs. And this will then become an analysis question because it will be based on calculations. For this, you will also have to choose a correct marking scheme. For an unconstrained task, you will need levels of responses. When the task is not constrained, it doesn't have a set rule, you will have to give them opportunity, open-ended questions will have to give them an opportunity to have different levels of marking scheme. Semi-constrained tasks, which require some form of judgment, you will need different levels of responses. Again, semi-constrained task, which requires a match of question to answer, you will need a point-based marking scheme, and constrained tasks will require a point-based marking scheme as well. So this is the kind of marking schemes we have. When you're expecting the child to judge or explain something, it's an open-ended area, so it's unconstrained. The kind of questions could be essay questions or open responses. Okay, and marking scheme will be based on level of response. When you ask them to explain or describe, we are looking at a point-based marking scheme. And when you ask them to describe or state, we are looking at a single word answer or a sentence or a number. In this kind of an option, we will choose a point-based or objective marking scheme. Finally, you will draft the item. This is exactly what I already told you before. You will ensure that your marking scheme is in alignment with your item. So this was a quick review of what Rabu Maham have already shared with us. Can I please have a few participants share their items with us, please? Vaishali, are you there?
Yes, Jaini.
Will you share your question?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Miss Jenny, can I show it?
Yes, you can show it. Shall I give you the sharing right?
Yeah, 1 minute. I'll just show. You know what is happening to this. Wait, just again. Give me a second.
Yes.
Okay. Can I share it now?
I
Miss-
have already shared the rights.
Okay, wait.
Miss Na, you can see my question.
Okay, she's.
Shall I read?
Vaishali's question. Yes. I have pinned
Okay, so
question.
the
Which
question.
of the following tool is represented by the Linux Penguin? MS Word, Windows 10, Tux Paint, and MS Paint. Well, I feel this is a well-drafted question and it is really checking the competency of the student because we are talking about a logo identification. Am I right, Miss Vaishali?
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Yes. So we are looking at the competency that the child has built. And if you look at the options, these are their everyday options, everyday symbols. So we are checking if the child has developed that competency. Can I have someone, can I invite someone for a feedback? Would someone like to give a feedback to this? Vrushali, Miss, will you give feedback to this question?
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Ma'am, the question is very well drafted, wherein the child has to also understand which application is used for which purpose and also correlate it with the options given.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. Thank you, Vrushali, ma'am.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vaishali, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yes. Who
Thank you.
else would volunteer to share their, and what would be the marking scheme? Sorry, Vaishali, ma'am, if you can just explain what would be your marking scheme for this? Would it be point based?
Yes, it will be point based, 1 mark for each question. It
Okay.
is tick the correct.
Okay. Thank you, Vaishali, ma'am. Yes. Who else?
Okay, Miss Jenny, now I am sharing.
Sure, ma'am. I'll pin you. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Vaishali, ma'am.
Can you see my screen here?
Yes, we can see your question.
So this is the question. You please.
Aman solved a quadratic equation and found its root to be real. Which of these could represent the graph of the equation Aman solved? So, ma'am, what is the purpose of this question?
Basically, if someone know that the concept is here, that if an equation is having a real root, then it will definitely cut the x-axis at some point. Suppose if an equation is having 2 roots, then definitely it is real roots, then it is going to cut x-axis at 2 points. If it is having 3 real roots, then 3 points. So here we have shown 4 parabolas here, 4 graphs here, and we have to decide like which among them is representing the quadratic equation. So look, there first, second, and fourth, if you people see that the graph is cutting the x-axis at some point, maybe at 1 point, 2 point, but it is cutting the x-axis. So the first, second, and fourth, all these graphs are having the real roots. But if you look at the third one, this one, then you can see that it is not touching the x-axis at all. It means this is not having any real root. So if a student is having the basic concept that an equation will be having a real root only if it cuts the x-axis, so he can identify which one is correct. It's like this.
Thank you so much, Rohini ma'am. Can I invite someone for feedback on this?
Yeah, please.
Anybody who's
Someone.
here, any math teacher or anybody who can give a feedback to this question, please? Anu ma'am, Shimna ma'am, Afreen Khan ma'am, anybody here who can share a feedback for this? Madhu ma'am, would you share your feedback on this question, please?
Yes, Jenny ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Not only the concept of number of roots will be clear to the students and will be tested through this question. There are many other concepts that can be tested, like reading the root also. The student can read the root from the given graph. Also, they will know the difference between linear equation and quadratic equation, their representation on the graph, how to plot these equations and polynomials on the graph. So there are a lot of related concepts, and this particular question can give a bigger scope for the teacher to assess the students on various concepts.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, Madhu
Thank
ma'am.
you, ma'am.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Rohini
thank
ma'am.
you.
Yes,
You're welcome.
thank you. Okay, I
Stop
can
sharing.
see the screen is telling me I think we are going to run out of time. So can we rejoin the meeting? Yes, we'll all rejoin and continue this session. Yeah. Thank you, everyone.